She gave him her heart. He gave her shame. To the world she was lucky, but behind closed doors, she carried a silence that grew heavier with every word he threw. This is not just a story about love. It's about waking up and walking away. A journey of heartbreak, resilience, and a twist no one in the village saw coming. Isioma was born in the small town of Udi, the second of 4 children. Her mother was a trader, and her father, a retired schoolteacher, was strict but proud. From a young age, Isioma learned to take care of others. When her mother was sick, she ran the stall. When her younger siblings were bullied, she stood up for them. But Isioma always felt like a shadow. She wasn't slim like her sisters, or as loud as her friends. People often told her she had a beautiful face for a big girl, as if beauty and size could not exist in the same body. At 28, she had never had a serious boyfriend. Aunties prayed for her at church, cousins joked about bridal fasting, and aunties whispered when she walked into weddings alone. But Isioma stayed calm, kind, helpful. She made peace with the idea of being alone, until Chidi came along. He was visiting from Lagos, a friend of her cousin. He noticed her in a crowd, complimented her laugh, said she had eyes that smiled before her lips did. He asked for her number. She hesitated. Men like him didn't notice women like her. But Chidi was persistent, respectful, and sweet. For the first time in her life, someone pursued her. They had long conversations on the phone that stretched into the night. Chidi would ask about her dreams, what made her cry, what music reminded her of home. He made her laugh. He made her believe. On her birthday, he surprised her with a picnic at the top of the Ugwu Hills. Just the two of them, jollof rice wrapped in foil, a slice of cake from the market, and a small gift, a silver bangle engraved with the word worthy. Isioma wore it every day after that. She began journaling her thoughts more deeply, writing about the kind of love she had longed for. She included pressed flowers from their picnic, kept his sweet texts saved in a little notebook, and dreamed of a life where she'd finally be chosen. Chidi began visiting Udi every weekend. He brought Isioma books, flowers, food from Lagos. He made her feel seen. 6 months later, he proposed in front of her family during Christmas dinner. Everyone cheered, and Isioma cried, not because she was surprised, but because deep down, she'd been bracing for him to change his mind. After the wedding, Isioma moved with Chidi to Lagos. Their first year was filled with joy, discovery, and late-night conversations. They explored new restaurants, danced in their living room, and even hosted game nights for neighbors. But cracks soon began to show. Chidi would make comments like, "Don't wear that, it makes you look bigger," or "You're lucky I don't mind thick women." He insisted she work from home instead of continuing her NGO job. He said he was protecting her from judgment. She believed him at first. At dinners with his friends, he would cut her off mid-sentence, make jokes about her weight, then wrap an arm around her, as if that made it better. When she once tried to join a gym, he laughed and said, "What for? You think 2 weeks will undo 20 years?" She laughed too. But that night she stayed awake for hours, scrolling through old pictures of herself and wondering when she stopped feeling beautiful. Over time, Chidi's words turned sharper. He complained about the meals she cooked, then criticized her for ordering takeout. He joked about her stretch marks in front of his friends. He controlled how much she spent, what she wore, and even who she spoke to. He would say, "You should thank me for loving you like this." And, "You think other men would put up with you?" Isioma started to shrink, not physically, but emotionally. She stopped going out, avoided mirrors, and cried in the bathroom with the tap running. She started writing in secret, a diary. where she poured out her pain, her confusion. On some pages, she drew herself as a little girl, smiling, chubby-cheeked, and full of dreams. Then came the biggest blow. Chidi cheated on her. The woman was slim, loud, and everything Isioma was told she wasn't. When she confronted him, he said, "Maybe if you tried harder to look good, I wouldn't need anyone else." She didn't cry. She just stood there. And for the first time, she looked at him not as a man she loved, but as a man who never truly saw her. That night, she stared at herself in the mirror for a long time. Then she took off the bangle, worthy, and placed it gently in her drawer. Isioma fell into a depression. Her family noticed her silence. Her mother came to Lagos uninvited and found Isioma asleep in the middle of the day, unbathed, surrounded by untouched food. It was her mother's words that finally cracked the wall. "You are not a burden. You are not a mistake. Come home, Isioma." That night, Isioma sat alone in their bedroom. She opened a drawer and found an old letter she had written herself years ago, a letter listing the things she loved about herself. She wept, not because of pain, but because she finally missed herself. She packed a bag, left a note. "You don't get to decide my worth," and she left Chidi. On the journey back to Udi, she looked out the window the entire way. It rained halfway, and she let the water blur her reflection. But inside, a strange calm took root. She spent the first few days in Udi sleeping, walking, and writing. Her younger sister took her shopping. Her father offered to help her start over. Her old friends visited with hugs, laughter, and pepper soup. She was healing. Back in Udi, Isioma started over. She opened a small community center focused on women's wellness, mental health, confidence, entrepreneurship. She shared her story at churches and town halls, slowly inspiring others to speak. Women came to her for advice. Young girls asked to learn from her. She became a local figure of strength. She took long walks again, laughed from her belly, learned to sew, started a small business, selling handmade jewelry with affirmations engraved on them. She reconnected with herself in every way, her body, her joy, her purpose. 3 years later, she was invited to speak on a national talk show. Her segment went viral. She was contacted by NGOs and women's groups across the country. One of her bracelets, Worthy, became a symbol for survivors of emotional abuse. And then came the final twist. One day, at a business seminar, Chidi showed up. His business had collapsed. He had aged. His charm dulled. He approached her, tried to joke, tried to apologize. She listened, then said gently, "Chidi, thank you for teaching me who I never want to be again." She walked away. No tears, no anger, just peace. Because this time, Isioma didn't shrink. She stood tall. This wasn't just Isioma's story. It's the story of every woman who ever felt lucky just to be chosen. Of everyone who was told they were too much or not enough. You are enough. Have you ever walked away from someone who made you forget your worth? Tell us in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe for more powerful African stories that speak to the heart. Thank you for watching.